Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of PickEd Speaks. I am Dr. D, and is so glad to see each and every one of you all again today. Listen, you do not want to miss tonight's show. We talked about it last week, and so I want you to begin to share with your family, your friends, your colleagues, your mamas, your uncles, everybody. Please make sure you're sharing tonight because you have two amazing gentlemen who will be joining me in just a moment. But I wanted to greet you all and just thank you first and foremost for joining me last week for our anniversary show. Listen, I cannot believe that it really has been an entire year. You know, pandemic, when it came, it was something, it was a dream, it was an idea that I wanted to do. And I wanted to start something like this. And I cannot believe that because of your prayers and because of the work that we've put in together, we have been here an entire year. And I hope and pray that we can continue this on for more and more times to come. As I said to you before, we're going to be taking our break. We're going to have 2 episodes left before we go into our summer break. We'll be gone in the month of July and August, and then we'll come back together in the month of September. And the beautiful thing is we'll be joining each other, not just on all these other platforms, but we also will be on Roku. We'll be on a channel on Roku, and so we'll have more information about that coming soon. There'll be some announcements coming. There'll be some commercials coming, and so we'll be joining. So again, please make sure you're joining us for the last 2 weeks of this month as we finish up the first half of our season. But tonight, we're going to go forth and really celebrate. You know, if you are not aware, the month of June is Black Music Month, and it's our month to celebrate and recognize and honor the legacy of which we come from when it comes to music. And of course, we've had, if you just think about the genres that have come out of us, right? And you think about the influences that we have had. And so tonight, the men who are going to be joining me tonight have in their own right been staples, if you will, in the industry, and they will speak to, you know, what they have done and also where they believe that we are going in our music. And so I don't want to hold us. I want to have a great conversation. I want to bring them on again. Share with your family and friends. Right now, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter. We're on many other outlets. So please join us wherever you watching. Just get the link. Share with the people and say, listen, you do not want to miss this. And if you have young people, bring them in the room as well. Bring them by the screen. Share this with them as well. Let them know that, listen, they want to hear this conversation because of the fact that there's so many of our young people who are not familiar with our history and our heritage and where they're, you know, the music that they listen to, the bumping and the rap and the music they hear, they think it's sometimes always off the dome, but it does have some influences. And so we want to make sure that they know where that comes from. So please make sure you're sharing that. With that, I have some amazing brothers who are going to join me now. One of them, he's supports everything that we're doing. He's always on with us. He's been on quite a few times, actually. He is, he's I call him the guru of all, right? He knows a lot of stuff, whether it be in higher ed, whether it be in music, whether it be fashion, whether it be he just launched a magazine. He has, t-shirts, he has media, he has event planning. This dude does it all. And so that is none other than the R. Wayne Woodson. How are you? Great, sir.
Good evening. I am doing well. It's been a busy, long day, but I am here.
And so it is great that it's great to see you. You know, the reason I say it's great to see you is because as if we don't talk every 2 hours of the day. So I guess I had to be formal in that regard. Please know that, when I bring friends and colleagues on, we try to be as professional as we can. But just know that we also believe in having fun. And then, of course, the other gentleman I'm going to bring on is an amazing gift. Vocally, I had a chance to be introduced to this gentleman. And when I tell you there's songs I have fell in love with, and they're literally on my playlist often. Some of them I have to hear often because of the fact that some of the words describe my whole entire life and how I deal with people. Or not deal with people for that matter. So He really is a gift, and he had a concert a couple of weeks ago that went absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it. I think Wayne, you weren't able to make it as well. We were talking about it, like we wanted to go, and but he's an amazing gift. And so for those of you all who have not, so I introduce to some and present to others as if he's a church bishop or something. Cleveland P. Jones, how are you, great sir?
I'm great. I'm very far from any of those things.
I did your official, your church introduction as you're the speaker of the hour.
Thanks to me.
You're the great speaker of the hour, right? But, so again, first and foremost, I never miss the moment to say, thank you both for your time. We are very clear that there's so many things that you can be doing. I know for a fact, Woodson, there's so many things that you can't be doing and need to be doing. But for you to take these moments and just take this time to educate and have great conversation and discussion is absolutely amazing. And so I want to give a moment to you, Cleveland, for those persons who are watching who may not know who you are, may not know your background. I want to give you the floor for a minute for you to kind of give people just a brief introduction of who you are.
Sure. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Cleveland P. Jones. I am from a very small town in South Carolina titled North. So I'm from North, South Carolina. I'm a Morehouse man. Very excited about that, like our fellow Mr. Woodson. Dr. Woodson. Let me not shut up. I attended Berklee College of Music. I'm a singer-songwriter, producer, and also actor. Don't use that too much, but I still have that degree. And I'm just here to make good music and spread love because we need it real bad.
And I said, we don't want to get on the conversations about degrees that we have that we
don't really. If you look into, there's nothing. This is yeah.
If we begin that,
definitely not going to get into that part.
Oh, geez. And of course, the good Reverend Dr. Elder Preacher Woodson. For those people who do not know who you are, I'm going to give you the floor to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I am R. Wayne Woodson. I own Woodson Associates, the Woodson Foundation, and RWYN. Glad to be here. I think most people are familiar with me, or I've interacted in some way. I am primarily a higher education consultant, but I have a few other companies that are really helped to be successful by an amazing team of people. I'm just the face you see in the front. So I'm glad to be here. Look forward to the conversation.
Giving a shout out to Mr. Rounds, my worship master of my lodge, the greatest lodge in the world. That's Squarework Lodge 596 in Lithia Springs, Georgia. Had to give that shout out really quickly since he was here. I had to. He popped on, so I had to give him a shout out. And the best lodge in the world. But I wanted to kind of start the conversation off with you, Cleveland, because of the fact that you are in the process. You are celebrating 10 years.
Yeah.
In artistry and just really pushing it. So the first question I have for you is, first of all, what made you really go down that path? And then the second question is simply, what do you believe has sustained you through this process?
Wow. The first thing that sustained, and I'm just going to be real blunt and honest about it. I was working a 9 to 5 at a cool corporate job in Boston, and it literally got to a point where I was, I'm the type of person who likes to do a whole lot of work early, get as much done, and then take a break later. So I can skip maybe say the last 2 hours of the day. I want to be able to say, oh yeah, I only got 2 hours to go and I'm ready to go home. So, this job kept pushing me to early breaks. I know this sounds really simple, but this is the truth. Early breaks. And I said, you know what? I can't keep this going because I know that if I came back from the late break, I'm going to go to sleep. And I didn't want to do that because I want to work and earn my money. So in the end, I called my mom on the phone. I was on that break at 11:30, which I thought was very early. And I said, Mom, I'm going to do it. I'm already working with a band. And I called the band leader, told her about my decision. And my mom, which I was totally surprised, she said, Cleveland, do it. My mom is very practical. And, this whole musician thing is kind of like, why did you do it? Like a lot of parents do to most kids. They don't understand, why did you go study music? Because there's really no promise to it. Well, I took the leap and I did. So anyway, long story short, On May 26, 2011, I kissed everybody, say I'll see you at the Grammys. Have not gone there yet. But I spoke it into Robert, give me a break. Okay. But I spoke it into existence and I walked away. Now, I can say it has not been an easy thing. No crystal stairs, they would say, but I've been able to sustain by literally, I would say, being professional, giving my all, like really studying the music. I can really just say that the blessing is the continuous calls that come through to get the call. Because people could, there's a plethora of people. There's millions of singers and artists all out there, throughout the world who are amazing as well, who could get the call. And when you still get the call and it still helps you pay your bills, strictly by way of music, by way of your gifting, it's kind of unbeatable. So if I'm here now for 10 years doing this, I'm definitely not turning back. I believe, and I'm going to keep moving and pressing forward. So that's what's been going on. Getting the call, staying professional, studying the music, coming prepared. Those are the elements, and positive attitude. That's a big, big part of it, belief. So, yeah.
And let's be very clear. There are some people who are not only not making it to the Grammys, they're not even getting the calls. So at least you were getting the calls,
I'm grateful for the call.
Lead to the Grammy.
Yeah.
But let's help them get the call.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't tell you, I definitely couldn't say that there's some magic behind it. It's just, I do believe in that a part of it is gifting, a part of it is definitely attitude. And here I am. So yeah.
And Wayne, you've had an amazing, many people aren't aware that, of the amazing career you've had, whether it be on the, choral sector and directing. You rarely hear about the work that Black men conductors are doing, particularly on the choral arena and things of that nature that aren't at maybe like a historically Black college or university. Like when you think about major organizations, like I had the pleasure and honor of being in your choir here in Atlanta. That was absolutely amazing. What for you do you think was your sustaining moment? What do you think really pushed you to want to be that face that Black men or young Black men don't always see when it comes to choral directors and it comes to being in that arena? What made you kind of want to continuously do it, even though you're not doing it now, but it was always still in the forefront?
So let me say, I never wanted to do it. It was kind of thrust on me because I was good at it. Like when I started undergrad, I was going to be an attorney. And I was only in the Glee Club because they gave me a scholarship. I was very clear. And then I switched to music in the middle of that year because I enjoyed it. But I never really thought about being a professional musician. I certainly didn't think about living in Europe as an opera singer. I didn't think about conducting choirs and orchestras. It just kind of happens. I think God ordains some things that we have no clue about. And I was very good at it, but I always give the reference to that movie Center Stage when the prima ballerina had that conversation with her mother. I was very good at it, but I didn't have the heart.
We were there together.
Right.
We saw that movie together.
And so what a lot of people don't know is I took several years off from music before I started back up because I had just had enough. Being an opera singer is a very taxing career because you're very rarely home. You live out of suitcases. You're never at one place long enough. And so it's just a very transient position. And I was living in Florida and I told my manager I didn't want to do it anymore. And so we had a year of contracts that had already been signed. So what I have realized as I reflect is that was the transitional career to get me to where I wanted to be, because it was that choral directing position that was part-time at Payne that led to this very lucrative and professional career I have in higher ed. So if I hadn't followed through with that music, I wouldn't be where I am today. But I never wanted to do it. And Cleveland will tell you, I was not the nicest person because I was just miserable with music early on.
You were, Robert.
Yeah, But you know that comes from insecurities and all kinds of things.
You weren't alone, though. We all were.
that have just shifted as I've gotten more seasoned.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Oh, this feels so personal.
Yeah. And I said, and I'm going to actually move the conversation on from that. But I actually want to stay there for a second, because you actually did mention the part-time work as pertaining in the program at Payne, that did not have, a choral program. You really became instrumental in building that program. And when you think about, some of these young people who had that desire to, who were not necessarily, musically, I want to say inclined, but really they didn't really come from music background and trained, but they ultimately had the desire. And I remember being in the when you did your tour, and they came to Atlanta, when you heard the sound that came out of these Black voices, that came out of these young people who weren't trained, but were given an opportunity. The question I have for you, going back to you, Wayne, is, do we put enough funding? Do we put enough emphasis in development of young people in the music industry? And if we don't, why don't we?
Well, the quick answer is no. Unfortunately, so let me just say, at one time, Payne had one of the top music programs of any school in the country. But it leads to your question. The arts are usually the first thing cut. So when especially institutions or organizations start having challenges, the arts are expendable. And that's what happened. So when I got to Payne, I didn't know they didn't have a choir, because the Payne I had experienced as an undergrad was not the Payne I came to. And so I think that what happens is we need to invest in passion. Those students were passionate about being successful, which often can alleviate some of the training issues. But I don't think we don't fund our young people's dreams and desires at a level that is commensurate with them being successful at all. Now, I'm not against STEM. I work in higher ed, but everybody can't be a technology person or a mathematician or a scientist. There are some people who are just not inclined to do those things. I'm one of them. I do math because I have a calculator. So I think that we need to really shift how we fund things, and I'm all for this concept of introductory classes for everything, so that young people figure out what they want to do. Because there might be a Cleveland somewhere who doesn't even know that a career in music is an option, unless you're a big famous person like Jay-Z or Beyonce. They don't know that you can have a very successful career and perhaps not be an internationally known name. So the short answer is no, we don't fund young people, and we certainly don't fund the arts, because I'm always fighting that battle.
In Cleveland, and Wayne alluded to it, and I'm glad he did. And we talk about there being young people out there who, may, because what they see the Jay-Z's and they see everything else, and they assume that everybody, or they think that everybody's story is the same, right? They think I got picked up on this, I got picked up on that. What is the thing that you would tell that young person, like when you think about, because you said, you told mom, like, listen, I'm going to do it. What would you say was probably like I guess that growing pain, that one thing that was like, it was the thorn in my side, that when I began this process that I just wish I didn't have to go through, but I'm glad I did.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would definitely say, first of all, great question. One of the best things I would definitely say is belief in self. That's the biggest thing and it's tough. Let me be very clear. It's hard to believe when you don't have adequate support. Because, even though, we're saying push it, know yourself, believe in yourself, but it's nice to have a parent or a friend or, a group of people, somebody who really believes in what you're doing. But what I will say is do not expect that. Do not put expectations on people. That's one of the worst things you can do. You will be let down. You will have failures. You will also not feel good enough. I'm just going to be straight up with all of it. You will feel highly insecure. You will think you did the best that you could, and someone else is also cackling over to the side. It's going to be all the stuff. And people are jealous. I'm just going to say all of it. You're insecure. People are jealous. You don't even know how gifted you are. All these things you have to deal with within even performing at the same time. I'm here about to go give this performance from my heart. And at the end of the day, I'm worrying about making sure that I hit that note the correct way, or will they call me again for the next gig? So it has a lot to do with how do you feel about yourself. So before you go jumping into this thing, just make sure you, first of all, take a deep breath. And really, really think about, is this something that you really want to get into? Don't do it because the next person did it. Do it because you know that this is something you're supposed to do. Now, this is more by spirit for me. This is why this move came. Again, I did it scared, hashtag, or I did it anyway, hashtag, or hashtag whichever. That's what I believed in. I just took the leap. And literally, I knew what I did know was that I wasn't going to drown. I know that I would go a little under, but I wasn't going to drown. And that's what I believed in. Here I am today. And it was based on knowing that I was drowning, wondering, how is the rent going to get paid? Who's going to call me for the next gig? Is it going to be canceled? All these things can happen. It's a very, very, how it says, it can be very volatile, a very volatile place in life and also decision making. But again, every call is a blessing. And every call is not always a yes either. You don't have to say yes to every call just because. There's a lot of things you have to just factor in. Does this really work for me? Yes, pay your dues, but don't be stupid in paying dues. And we can get into that later, because I've done a lot of stupid stuff, if you will. And I call it that because when I look back, and if I could have shifted and changed that, my nice guy got in the way. That's what happened to me. My nice guy got in the way, and it was hard to turn people down because I was afraid of being blackballed. I was afraid of people's, of not getting the call anymore. But then if you believe in what you're doing, take your time. If you're on a 9-to-5, take that 9-to-5, still work it, but gradually get there. Don't, I'm not going to say, because some people can take the cold turkey moment and just go for it, and that's it. I've worked for a while, and then I did not have anything saved. So let me be very clear about that either. I was working a 9-to-5 without savings, just being honest. And I just told the lady that I was working with that I'm going to take the leap and do this music full time with a band in Boston. And she screamed on the phone. She said, "Yes, Cleveland, do it. I'll find you work." And she did. Again, that was my blessing. I can't tell you what your story is going to be, but if you believe it, go for it.
And sidebar really quickly, Wayne, I believe you do have some shirts in your collection that says "Do It Scared."
Yeah, that's.
I need that shirt. I'll buy it.
Shirts in my collection. I was actually on my show with Pastor Jamie out of North Carolina, and she was like, sometimes all the Lord wants you to do is do it. And like Cleveland, I had a very good job at Payne College. I was head of 2 major departments, very secure. And so when the Lord spoke to me and said, "You need to leave there and start a consulting company," my first response, "I can't say on your show." But I was like, "No, I don't think we're going to do that." And DeAndre, I fought that for like months. And I said, okay, things just kept getting worse and worse. I was like, how much worse do I have to experience on my part? And not from the school, but other things before I just stepped out and did it. But Cleveland, I also just want to remind you, I think it was India Ari who had been singing for 10 years before she was discovered. Wow. So this might be your transitional year.
Ooh,
so
this is good to hear.
She did an interview and she was saying that, I've been singing for 10 years before anybody knew who I was. I didn't just wake up one night and I was this international celebrity. Because, she'd been singing here in Atlanta for years.
I know.
So, that 10 years could be your transition. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get all prophetic.
Listen, can I say this one thing? Robert was also the conductor of the Glee Club, the student conductor of the Glee Club while I was there. So that's how well I know him. So I just wanted to say that, so it goes way back, and this guy does know his stuff. And I also understood, Robert, when you were saying about who you were then, I understood why, though. You had a lot on your plate, a ton.
And we don't sorry to take over your show, DeAndre. I guess that's why you had us on here. But I think being David Marlowe's student director is not like being other people's student director.
That's not a regular job. That's
his expectation is that you can replace him if need be, which was clear the year he couldn't go on that tour, and Jim Davis had to take the Glee Club on the tour and conduct it. So it was a different level of pressure, and it was it's kind of like life in my life now, which is very public. I didn't ever get time to be off. Like most college students get to go home and they can be themselves. I never got that. I mean, Cleveland, you read my apartment and stuff. I was always working.
Yes. Always.
And that was stressful, and it took me to a place that was not a healthy mental place at all. And you know, I'm very transparent in my life at this point, but I was suicidal at that time. You know, if Darren had not been my roommate, I would have committed suicide.
Darren.
And so it was a very challenging experience, and I didn't understand how to manage what was going on emotionally. And so my way of keeping people away was to be mean, which is a lot of people. But you know, as you grow and change, you change.
I saw it through it, Robert, though. I saw it.
The people who are still in my life didn't go anywhere.
Right.
Like, you know, I had my magazine launch. I sent Cleveland a
I bought a ticket. I couldn't make it, but I did support it.
Yeah, but you bought a ticket, you supported, and you told me you had a show. And you know, my godbrother Pierre, who passed away last year, always used to say, sometimes you have to show up.
Yeah. And
showing up is in different ways. Like, I was not feeling well for Cleveland show, but I still reached out to him to let him. I didn't just like not pop up when I said I was coming. So, you know, sometimes you just have to show up.
And I think that in itself, I think speaks volume, even when it comes to, you know, the passion of the dream. Like, sometimes you just have to be, you know, sometimes you just have to do it. Because, you know, Cleveland mentioned it. Not everybody's going to give you the attaboys. Not everybody's going to give you the pat on the backs. Not everybody's going to not everybody's going to understand the why, right? You know, it's not their responsibility to understand the why, especially as long as you know. Now, the problem becomes if you don't know the why.
Yeah.
You know, if you're still struggling with the why, and what I mean by that is if you still don't understand your why, if you haven't quite conceptualized, now you may take a second, but if you're 10 years in and you're still trying to figure out your why, then we might have to send you back to that 9 to 5. You out here whying it out. But the question the one question that I'm going to give before I go into the break is when we're talking about that why, we're talking about helping young people, because we have this concept where unfortunately we're not funding programs. Even in the K-12, arts is the first thing to go. I can say, you know, this is public record, so I can say it. I remember in Fulton County here in Atlanta, they actually determined that, you know, nurses or the arts, and they cut the arts, and they still only provided like a nurse per cluster. So they really still didn't, and they still cut it. But another thing that they did was they also had this orchestra. They had a district-wide orchestra, but so many of the young people in the South Side didn't know they even had it because they only had the rehearsals in the North Side. And so they never really made it available. They never really even allowed it. You know, they didn't advertise because the concept was the young people on the South Side, you know, they may not come or they may not be interested in this orchestra. And so one of the schools I worked for, the principal was very adamant. So she actually went and found someone to teach cello. And so she wanted the students to learn cello. And then she, you know, and got trumpets, you know, so they ultimately built their own program. The question I have before we go to break is, how do we begin to find that way to encourage our young people to step out again? Because I know a lot of young people they think that the music is rapping, and they think, you know, that, which is great, but how do we get them to really appreciate that other side of the arts that has helped and sustained music in itself, the classical and you know, and things that are not necessarily all through the beats and everything? How do we begin to encourage and to cultivate that love for that form of the arts?
That's Robert.
So I'm gonna piss some of your viewers off, and I don't care, because, you know, my statement is always I work myself and I do what I want. But one of the issues is there was a point in time where Black churches included everything. And so a lot of young people got exposed to various types of music because the church then and now is still the center of most Black people's lives.
Yeah.
While that has shifted, and I'm not against praise and worship music, because I tell you all the time, you will hear everything on my playlist from an opera to trap music. But if we don't expose them young, we can't expect them to appreciate. There are lots of young people who don't realize that there are indie artists or there are opera singers and all these people that look like them.
Yeah.
And we have to get away from this concept that certain types of music are elitist and only for certain groups of people.
Thank you for that.
That is ignorant. That is the same as saying that the music that Cleveland produces should be listened to by anybody but Black people.
That's it.
I mean, that's just an ignorant concept. But we in our communities perpetuate ignorance, be it known or unknown, intentional or unintentional. And I think we do a detriment to our students because somewhere is the next Leontine Price.
Yes.
Somewhere is the next, India R.E. Somewhere is the next, classical instrumentalist. But that's a community issue. And if we don't start breaking it down, it's the same thing I say about politics. Some of it starts at the local level. My parents expected everything I participated in to be high quality. And, we don't have some of those same expectations. And if we don't shift that concept, what's going to happen is there are going to be fields in which we are not represented, and we can no longer blame other demographics for that paradigm.
Wow.
And I promise there's moments where, again, I say this often on this show, I appreciate my mother so much allowing me the space and the autonomy to try and to be like, I remember growing up in Ohio and being the only Black kid who sung barbershop quartet music, who sang barbershop choruses and actually did the traveling in barbershop. And I really did that, but it exposed me to so many other things, so much so that we were able to I was able to travel and to do these things and perform. And that's because of the fact that, and again, my mother was pressured by family members. Like, don't do that. That's that, and I can say it is what it is, that there's my mother. There she is right there. She just popped on the screen. I didn't know she was watching. So my mother's on the screen, but they popped in, that's that sissy stuff, or that's that girly girl stuff, or they immediately go that route, right? And I really was able to expand, right, and be different and enjoying and loving. I was so exposed to so much, and I appreciate those parents who really see the necessity to exposing their young people and exposing their children to just more than just, hip hop and everything. Because again, as Wayne was saying, we're more than just that, we're more than that. And we're more than, a certain group. But I'm going to take this quick break real quick. I'm going to stop real quick. Again, I have two amazing giants who are just, if you have not shared this already with your family and friends, first of all, shame on you. And I'm mad you actually watching. Get up off my screen if you're not going to share it. So you need to leave now if you're not going to share it. If you have not shared it, thank you for watching, but you can go now because clearly you mean us no good. I need you to share that. Did I just really say it on screen? I did. What? I just listen. You need to be sharing this right now because there's some nuggets being dropped. There's some information being dropped, and I'm sure there's more information that you will see and just laughs and jokes. And when we come back, we're really going to kind of dig deep into kind of some origins of music and some of where we come from, right? And then there's one particular conversation I want to have with Cleveland about one particular song that he has that has really, really, really changed the trajectory of how I think about people, relationships, and how I've been able to conquer patience. And so y'all will understand that by and by, you'll understand it. And trust me, I'm actually going to, I have the song queued up. So when I'm talking about it, I will let you all hear the song I'm talking about because you'll understand it. So again, this is PickEd Speaks. I have Cleveland P. Jones on. I have R. Wayne Woodson. We will be right back. This is PickEd Speaks, where Black excellence speaks for itself. We'll be right back after this break. PickEd Speaks. We'll be right back.
Are your students ready to succeed in today's changing environment? The necessity for innovative educational consulting is here, and Woodson and Associates, we're ready to help. You can provide state-of-the-art diversity and educational leadership. Your students will always have the resources needed to succeed with Woodson and Associates.
and pushing Black businesses. This hoodie that I did purchase came from Alfred's Laundry. Alfred Shivey, who's an amazing educator, who's really growing himself as a political activist. You can please follow him on social media. But this is his brand. He also has one that says "My Vice President is Black." And he has Black History in the Making. There's so many other wonderful attire that he has. So please make sure that you go to alfredslaundry.com to go get your shirt, or go get your polo, or go get the jackets that they have, or go get a t-shirt or something to support that brother, because he's doing amazing work in the community. So please make We are back. Listen, I have the amazing Cleveland Jones on, and I have R. Wayne Woodson with me. Listen, before we went to break, I told you all about this song that Cleveland has. And so we talked about it briefly, but we said we'll wait till we get on live to actually discuss what the influence of this song was. So there's a song, and I told him how I was interested in him as far as music. But this particular song that came on when I heard it, I literally stopped in my tracks and I asked it to play it again. And it's been on my playlist for the longest. It's a song called Patience. You got to go look it up. You got to go make sure you look it up. But it's talking about, this relationship. They're in love. This person loves you. They love each other. And the man or the woman, whomever singing to it, who is singing this song. Mm-hmm. I love you, but listen, I need the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, and everything else to help me deal with you. Like, in order for this to work, I need a higher beat. I need something, because you running me rap. You running this patience, and it's too much. I have to know, like, where did this inspiration come from?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was definitely in a relationship. I was dating someone from France, and I met at Berkeley. And I'm not going to give her too much talk because that's over and done. No shade, but it's done. And I've learned to not try to bring up old stuff and dry bones. They don't need replenishing. So in this case, it was definitely a cultural thing. Learning a lot about, to my knowledge, she was Muslim and I grew up Christian per se, and we were dealing with just a lot of differences. But I was determined to make it work. And I felt like we were determined to make it work, but we just knew that we had a lot of differences and a lot of things that I don't know whether we were willing to give up, to really make it work. But we tried. But I knew for me that I love hard, and I was going to do whatever it took to make it work. But in the end, if it wasn't working, I was willing to let it go. Mm-hmm. So I tried my best. I gave my best. I gave my all, and it is time to say goodbye. And I'm not going to turn back. So that's what Patience was about, or still is about. I mean, the first lyric says, "You've gotten on my last nerve."
Yes.
And I don't know how much longer I can take it. And so I'm going to try to love you unconditionally, but I need someone to help me. And I think I said, Lord, give me some patience. Patience to love you, patience to deal with us. We need it. Lord, give me some patience to hear you. We can make this thing work together because you know that I love you. And then I go back and talk about my own self. I know I have faults too. I didn't say I was perfect, but I know it's worth it. So I tried my best. And that trying to make that relationship work regardless of our differences in our cultural backgrounds or whatever, I definitely, it just really, really made me go there. And the influence was definitely just listening to some Otis Redding. It moved me. I was moved by this. Like, I grew up so gospel. I didn't get really introduced to jazz till I got to Morehouse, and I'm gonna give shouts out to Miss Ramona Estelle for that, because that's how I learned Autumn Leaves and started listening to stuff. And she told me to learn some jazz, and because she heard my song.
Ooh, that girl could sing her face off.
Yes. and so that's how jazz literally started. So I credit where it came from. But this particular song, Patience, definitely spawned from the word spawn. Wow, that says a lot. Came from a relationship that I was really trying to leave me alone, Robert. But I was trying to really make work. And eventually, as you would know, it's no more. But it was a lesson learned, and here I am today, a better man.
Well, I will tell you, there is a particular holler in this song. There's a squall of this song that really makes you hear, like, listen, I just need you. Like, it's like, if you didn't hear me, let me say this one last time. Like, there's a scream in this song.
This is funny.
Like, that song, and I probably should not have liked that song as much as I have, and I'm actually, it's funny because
it's an anthem. It's an anthem. It's an anthem for relationships. Really?
Yeah. I laugh because I'm laughing because I just saw someone to whom I used to date pop on the screen and pop right back off. I was like, oh. I was like, oh yeah, that song was probably about you. I am doing too much tonight.
No, it's fine.
It's your show. Do what you want to do.
Right. It's you.
But I think though, when you think about though, in all seriousness, though, when you think about now, that was obviously a song that I connect with. But that's what music does. That's what our music does. And I think that's what is so beautiful about music. And I think that's why I think it's also beautiful to know where it comes from, where it stems from. Because people, when I ask you about the influences, our music is influential.
Oh yeah.
And it has meaning. And I think about, again, how we use it. When we talk about, again, how in slavery, people think, we understand it to be one thing, but at the end of the day, it was the music that got our people through. It was the music that sustained people. It was music that was the messaging. And so, Wayne, we talk about the origin. We talk about how we use music for messaging. We talk about how we use music to sustain and to move us. How would you describe, when we talk about the origin of music, how would you describe our influence to American culture, known as, American culture of music? How would you describe our influence to the culture?
Well, let me first say that's what music should do. Now, it's not always doing that. Which is why you have difference of people who do some music and then the people who are just icons through the ages. So the first music in this country was spirituals. I mean, we created the first music in this country. And there are still people that refer to jazz as America's classical music. So I think our impact on music speaks for itself, but the difference is that quality music that is on the side, I'll say the Black music spectrum, really comes from inside our spirits. That is gospel, that is jazz, that is classical, that is any kind of music. Because even if you see opera stars that are Black, the response and the music's intent is very different. In all of opera, Leontine Price still has the longest standing ovation in history.
Wow.
Playing Aida. And so I just think that is what makes our music different when the quality people are doing it. It's not just about making money. I mean, even if people really, I'm a Beyonce fan, some people don't like her, but I don't care. If you really look at her canon, the music speaks to where she was at those moments in her life. She didn't announce Sasha Fierce until well into her career. So people didn't understand how this woman, who's often referred to as shy about people who know her, was getting out on the stage and have these amazing performances. The same for Janet. Even if you look at Michael Jackson, the music in his canon speaks to where his spirit and his body was at the time. And I think that's what makes the difference. Our music is not just notes on a page. No, that's a score. It is what our spirits bring to the presentation. That's why, the last year and a half for Black people has been hard, because we have not had live musical experiences. You can only emote so much through my computer screen. There is a sense of community that comes from being in that space with the artist, where their spirit is literally speaking to the people. I go to Sean Joyner Presents Groove Lounge regularly, and you just see the energy in the space from people you see performing all the time. Like Patrick has been on TV and everything else.
It's amazing.
But being in the space with his artistry is an entirely different experience. And it's the same with Cleveland. Cleveland has been singing since we were 18. But the experiences in his life bring a different level to the music. We're not the same as we were at 18. And I think that's what makes the music different. Absolutely. I know that was a long answer, but I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. Like when you think about, because you kind of moved into my next question, because when you think about, again, the people that people don't know about, right? When you talk about classical music, we very rarely do our people, and I'm not talking about young people. I'm talking about our people in general. Very rarely when you start talking about people like a Margaret Bonds. When you start talking about a Wendell P. Whalen, when you start talking about a Moses Hogan, when you start talking about a Florence Price, when you start talking about a William Steele, you start talking about again, when you start going even to jazz, you start talking about Duke Ellington when he, as a composer, you start talking about these individuals. Like these are people who've made major contributions to classical music and to others, and people don't know. And some of the stuff and some of the influences that they're seeing. Even with the whole sampling thing, I've always interesting when I hear conversations, with young people, and they'll it'll be a song they sampled, and they'll say, "Oh, that's such and such," but I'm like, "No, somebody did that song like 30 years ago. They just sampled it from, and they think it's the original." I think I was talking to somebody recently. I think it was I think one of the song was I think it may have been something. I think they borrowed a song, I think, from Earth, Wind, and Fire, but they thought it was, their original song. I'm like, no, they borrowed that, and so they don't understand that concept. When we talk about again the spirituals, we talk about those songs. We talk about the way that is going, and you talk about Leontine Price, and that I still remember. When you think about these Black choruses, especially the HBC experiences, this is kind of why I want to go into this. When you think about that, the Black choruses, we think about the Fisk Jubilee Singers, and we think about how that sound that we have, right? For instance, I still know that I don't care where they go, I don't care what concert it is, I don't care what's being done. When I tell you, people still now they've heard the song 12,011,050 times, but people still respond to "Better Let Him Move" when Morris College Glee Club sings that song.
Well, and what people don't know, I think it was Whalum had taken it off of some programs, and the people had sent hate mail to the school.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
There was a woman who wanted us to do that at her wedding. I'm like, it's a Christmas carol.
It is.
But I think your statement speaks to the fact that we are just disconnected from our cultural heritage, just in general. And I mean, like, for instance, Black musicians have not just shifted music in this country, but we have shifted the country. If you think about Marian Anderson, who had the First Lady of the United States appalled that she couldn't perform at Constitution Hall, what Black person during that time ever expected to be doing a nationally televised concert on the Lincoln Memorial steps?
Right.
We have pushed, and that pushed integration in the arts. We have pushed this country forward through our artistic endeavors. So it goes beyond just knowing our music, but it goes to just knowing who we are as a people. But unfortunately, the further and further we get away from things, the more we lose.
Yeah.
So when artists like Cleveland come up, people are like, oh, this is so profound. He is building on a legacy that is 200 years old. But we are just so disconnected. When you get on Black History now, That's my soapbox. But we have to reconnect to what made us a people.
Yeah.
That will impact some of this violence we have. That will impact this narrative that young Black boys can be successful. That will change how our young Black women feel about themselves and feel the need to represent. But we are just completely disconnected from the music and everything else.
And when we talk about, we talk about, again, the church being a center point for our music, and Wayne alluded to it a little earlier. We talk about, the church doesn't, like it used to, invite the different genres of music. It doesn't invite, very, very few churches that I know still don't, churches used to have, more than just, 3 keyboardists, a drummer, and then, synthesizer. They actually had trumpeters. They had a full band. They had, actual guitars. Like, they actually had a full band. And
some of them have full orchestras. And it was not unusual to see a real acoustic piano in a Black church, not a keyboard that you can hit the piano button.
Right.
And so, Cleveland, as we're talking about, even as we talk about the expansion and we talk about influences, because, especially now we're talking about, gospel music. Like, for instance, we had a conversation that fact that Kanye West won the Grammy for Best Gospel Album, right? And that has been a shift, right? As Wade goes to turn his
So let me just say, I'm not against Kanye West, even though
not at all. Let's be very clear.
May think that he needs some support in some areas. I think that we need to be clear of people's genre of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like the same as me all of a sudden getting a hip hop award because I did one song that was on hip hop. That is not your genre in which you live. And that's my concern with that. Mm-hmm. There are people who live in the gospel arena that are completely undervalued. So my issue with that selection was not because it was Kanye West. It was because that's not his genre. And just because you do an album does not make you a specialist.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
That's my soapbox. And I think he has amazing music now.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah. He's a genius now.
And do you think, Cleveland, when it comes to the music, and when you think about where, how, when you think about songs like I Shall Wear a Crown, when you think about, the Thompson Community Sing Choir, do you think about, some of the music that James Cleveland, these music, and then you start thinking about how it evolved. And I think, of course, it always should be evolution.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, that where it is now, when I again relaying back to the whole Kanye West thing, do you think that it's gone too far left that it doesn't still hold some of the same oomph that it did, or do you think it's just now trying to still appease to, I guess, the new generation? And is it even drawing what it used to do for the other? Is it sustaining? Is it grounding in this generation now, like the other music used to do for the, for our older generation, or is it just now just simply music to have and be entertainment?
You know what? That's a great question. And what I'm going to be very careful about is not to teeter-totter, if you will, into spaces where I feel like I'm making a finite decision. But evolution. Evolution is the word. Things are evolving. I'm going to definitely go to Kirk Franklin. I have to say that because I grew up, I'm a 70s baby. So I grew up with the James Clevelands, the Vanessa Bell Armstrong, the Clark sisters, you name it, the roster, Yolanda Adams. I mean, it was what gospel music. I mean, the core, the food. It was the food for me. I really cried, like I really went through, tarried, and that's what made it even more relatable when I did join the Morehouse College Glee Club, because I had never done choral music. So I got into this organization, I was just little Black boy singing gospel music around the house and sometimes at church. And then and now I have to literally pick up this Robert, you instruct me because you're the teacher.
The score.
The score. The score. And I have to really read this stuff. And I'm like, oh, Father in heaven, I'm not going to get this sight reading right. God, please help my ears. Okay. So I'm saying all that to say, I'm so glad that I had to go through all of that stuff, the training, the Glee Club, again, gospel music, then learning some jazz. So I got to evolve with a lot of things. I like some pop music. I am not a hip hop fan. I'm never going to be. That's just me. I think I do like beats. I do sometimes listen to messages, but I'm more, So if I have to really, that's just not my thing. But going back to the evolution and how is it really, say, ministering to the youth? I think that it is. I think that a lot of CCM music, which is contemporary, Christian music, is really moving. And I've noticed that a lot of Black music, gospel music, is completely going over to contemporary Christian music. And I'm like, ooh, God, can we please go back a little bit? And I'm not saying don't grow. But I'm saying, I feel like I'm be honest, I think we lost something. I have to say, I feel like we lost a big thing that was the core of who we were. And I want it back. And I hope it comes back. They say things, recycle themselves, nothing new under the sun. And I do believe that there are people out there still making music like that, but you're just not hearing it. It's not mainstream. So I think that it's definitely a gear towards what the younger ears want to hear. But I think the younger ears, like Mr. Robert Wayne said, listen, the foundation. And I think the foundation has been lost. And I'm not saying completely lost, but it's hidden and it needs to come back. I miss it. I want it. That's how I learned. That's the meat to me. Again, the food. But again, I know that we're in a new space. We're constantly evolving. But I do think that, I think something's lost and I hope we get it back. And I know that we can actually bring it back. Because it's in us. That's it's our innate thing. So, yeah, that's all I can really say about that. But that's my honesty, and again, it's just my opinion, not to teeter-totter and not a finite answer for anybody. But that's how I see it, and I don't apologize for that.
But Cleveland, I think you also bring up this issue that we're having in the church, where we can't move forward and maintain the traditional history.
That's good.
Like you can move forward and still have a foundation. So, it's like when I talk to my friends who do church music full time, it's like either we can do praise and worship or we can do choral music. But the benefit of being Black in this country has always been that we can do it all.
We can.
Now, I think the challenge that we're facing, especially, I'm not a Grammys person, but I think the challenge we're facing is that the standards of excellence with our music are being managed and approved by organizations in which we are not represented. And if you look at the Grammys, the people who make those decisions, you won't see a lot of us at that table.
Right.
So,
Right.
There's this whole movement now. There are a lot of Black artists who are moving away from the Grammys being the standard because they're saying like it's still maintained by people who are not representative of any of the minority artists. And I think that, we have to look at that. Like our culture is being shifted by people who do not represent us. And so we can move forward and still remember where we came from. We can do spirituals, gospel, jazz, hip hop, and everything in our churches because that's what we've always done. And everybody can't do that.
That's correct.
And so I think you bring up a very valid point. Though it's not a either or, it's a but and. Like we can do it all.
I like that so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's my soapbox.
Because it feels as if, unfortunately, some of the society that it becomes like it's almost competitive. Like we have to compete to, if it's not this, it's that. And unfortunately, even within genres, right, we still have these competitive things. Like, for instance, if we go back to gospel and we're talking about the spirit and the moving, right? We talk about, Wayne was talking about how music is supposed to move. It's supposed to provide a sense of something, right? And, there are some people who, when you think about gospel music, there are some people who are moved by all these runs. And that's just what gives them what they get. And they just feel the spirit and just go for it.
Oh gosh!
Mind you,
Robert, I see your face.
I mean, because I just seen some people run themselves straight to hell, and yet they ain't done nothing for me. But
I just want people to be able to hold a note for more than one beat. In classical music, they're called ornaments for a reason, because there's some foundational music that you are, running around.
yes,
But these people, I heard the other day, she ran the whole song, and I'm still trying to figure out what the song was. But
and that becomes a thing, because there's the other part of that, to where we do this judgment, right? Because you have some people who be like, if you run, you're the singer,
right?
But somebody who comes and has this pure tone, who has this message, and because that's not, and okay, I'm about to piss somebody off. I guess I'm about to piss some people off on my own show.
This is reality.
But that's one of the issues sometimes I used to have with the show Sunday Best, because of the fact that
or character.
there used to be, because you did not do this, if you didn't do gospel this way, if you didn't sing it this way, if you didn't do it this way, it wasn't Sunday Best. But
this is so
people who were pure, and you heard their heart, and you heard the anointing, and they move people, but that's not classified Sunday because it wasn't what was popular.
Well, let's be clear. Sunday Best is looking for a performer who might be anointed. They are not looking for someone who's anointed that can perform. Those are two different things. They are looking for a star who can balance out the money they're investing in producing that show and make them some money. If they were really looking for an anointed singer, then the show be traveling around to churches and performances around the country and just picking up people, not having this formalized production. Now, I watch Sunday Best for what it is. It is reality television, whatever people want to say. I have gained a greater appreciation, though, since they've had Kelly Price on there, because she is being honest with some of these people and say, that was a wonderful show, but I didn't feel God at all. This is a new concept.
But I haven't seen that.
Oh, Kelly Price to get the people together now. But they're looking for a star, and I think that is what has happened in music, especially our music. It's all about money now. Whether it's gospel, jazz, classical, whatever, you got to make it marketable. That's how Kanye's album won. It sold a lot of albums, but that don't mean people be listening to it in 10 years. Because if you really listen to it, most of them are remakes. I mean, I have heard excellent for my entire life. That is not a new song. But we have to stop allowing pop culture to validate Black culture.
And for anybody who may come on here and who may try to cancel me because I said about Sunday Best, because we in this cancel culture season for some reason, just know that there was somebody who is during the commercial. So Maurice Griffin, who was on Sunday Best, you still can buy his song "Love, Peace, Happiness." It is available on iTunes. So you can buy that. Nice little plug there. Who was on there? But
we had people on there. We went to school with Zebulon.
Zebulon.
So they have some very anointed and talented people on there. But at the end of the day, the person they pick might be anointed also, but they have to pick a star. It's the same as with American Idol. Some of the best singers didn't make it to the end.
Right. It's very true. Very, very, very true.
Who's in school, and I think it's Jackson State University, who was on that show. That boy can sing his face off. He was on there this season, but we see he didn't make it to the end. I think his name is Deshaun or something. But at the end of the day, these people got to make money. And if your anointing is, I think this is gonna sound real shady, but I can say it because I don't have to be invited.
You're Robert. That's not.
At the end of the day, if you are anointed and you are not star quality based on mainstream appeal and taste, they can't pick you even if they think you're the best one.
Wow. Can I speak on that?
Yeah.
Touch on that a little bit. That was one of my biggest insecurities, just as for anybody who's listening, youthful stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not built like Usher, or I don't have all these muscles. I don't have this particular appeal that I think that the world would see as of how I've seen. Because a lot of people look kind of cookie cutter to me. Even the pop stars, everybody's super skinny, they got wavy hair, or they're chiseled, tattoos, whatever it is. I'm just no judgment in all of it. I think all of it is beautiful. But it also has a lot to do with what society claims to be what is beautiful and what is not. And it also will completely skip the anointing period. And that's not say Sunday's best. That's even anything. Like I just, it's just She said the music business is about business, not music. Correct. Thank you, Miss Simmons. Exactly. And so it becomes way more about that. So this is why I make it a big point for myself to find my own way. It is not easy, but find my own way. How's it going to work for me? And Lily, that's why I'm going to give credit to this guy named Key Jam and also named Mr. Michael Wright for saying, hey, Cleveland, we believe in you. Say, why not call yourself, get yourself your own group called the Becleavers. So that's why I call my family, people who enjoy what I do, the Becleavers. I don't like the word fan too much because it feels like I'm somebody's star. I'm just Cleveland. How you doing? I'm going to hug you. Unless you got a cold, please don't make me get sick. But outside of that, let's be real. But the thing is, like, I'm glad you touched on that because it has so much to do with image more so than actual business stuff. Because there's a lot of beautiful people out there with great record deals. I'm not saying they're really happy and they're good looking per se, according to societal aesthetics, but they are not great artists. And I'm just going to say they're not great singers. They don't bring it, But I'm going to even go speak on what's her name. It was a song called. But anyway, Martha Wash. She's a beautiful, amazing singer. But when I think CC Music Factory came out back in the day, they totally put this very slim, fit lady who mimicked her voice, who lip synced her voice. And Becleavers, that's brilliant. Yes, Becleavers. Thank you, Mr. Duckett. Yes. So yes, be a Becleaver, become a Becleaver. But it was all based on image. And I'm telling you, it hurts a lot of people. And it also will stifle the process of many people or young people out there who see this is what they're giving. So they're not going to think that they're good enough because maybe I'm too thick or I'm too dark or I'm too whatever it could be. All these things will become things that stifle the process of them really moving forward. And I'm here to say, screw all of it. And again, I'm not going to be like Mr. Wayne, I'm going to be like you, Robert, and not say what I really want to say respectfully on this show. And it's, again, I'm honored to be here, and I want you to invite me back one day. But that's all I'm going to say.
But I think, Cleveland, you bring up a very valid point, the impact that this shift has had on our young people. I mean, look at Gabby. Gabby is an amazing actress, but didn't start doing it because she thought she was too big. And there are a lot of people out there, like you're saying, who don't fit the stereotypes.
Exactly.
Well, when I was in college, I was thin. And so now that I'm this public image, it's hard because, I'm not the same person I used to be. And so what you're saying in terms of the aesthetics of society is critical because our young people might see a Black person, but the Black people they're seeing might not represent them. Like, what about the person who isn't thin? What about the person who doesn't work out? What about the person who is biracial and doesn't look like, the traditional Black person? So I think that, we have to, and that is the responsibility of our society, the Black society, to adjust those paradigms. I'm so sick of this concept, like somebody else come in here and fix us. People talk about Muslims and Jewish people, but they will fix their own communities internally. And I think that's what we have to do. We need to get some of these artists out here like Cleveland and others who are performing and might not be international, so that these young people can say, oh, you can have a career.
You can. You can do it.
And not be this international star making $2 million a performance. The other side of that is they also don't realize how much it costs those artists. Now, I have studied music business as a teacher. But between Beyonce's shows and between the insurances and then paying her staff and all those people who sit on the stage, Beyonce makes money because she and Jay-Z are extremely competent business people.
They are.
But musicians, unless you are writing and producing, don't make money. You might make 10 cents on that $10 album you just paid.
And you could be the featured. And I know this all too well. I can totally talk about bad business, good business as well. I got turned off from a particular genre of music that people thought I was great at, and I'm just going to call it house music. I think house music is cool. I like it, but it's not my forte. I'm more of a jazz, and I love a lot of other stuff. But the thing is that I got so turned off because I personally, and you also point the finger. My grandmother used to always say, point the finger at somebody else, you got 3 pointing back at you, okay? So I'm going to fault myself for making a bad music decision. I was too busy trying to be the creative person who wanted to I just want to do music and let someone else take care of the business. Don't do that. Please Don't do that to yourselves. Please, I'm pleading. Don't do that to yourself. Learn some business. I was at Berklee College of Music, and I didn't learn any of the music business. I wish I'd taken at least one business course, even the intro to business. I didn't do it. So I got messed up. I got locked into some things, and it was all my writing. And I got nothing for it. It was my voice that circulated. They were putting my voice. They were sending me out to many people, out to once they got the recording of you, they can send it to whoever they want to. And then next thing you know, there's 10 different remixes of your voice and your song that you wrote, and you get no credit.
Well, look at Spinderella and look at Spinderella and Salt and Pepper. They have kind of written her out of the narrative.
I heard about that. I heard about that story.
But look it up. I mean, it's
Be careful,
crazy.
people.
I did a whole, when I was at Payne, I did a whole music business segment in my music appreciation class. And I have my
business from you, Robert.
And I'm a business person.
Yeah.
And I have my students set up like Shark Tank, and they would have to go up there and pitch their artistry or whatever they were and get the sharks to vote for it. But my purpose in doing that is I want them to understand what's happening behind the scenes. It's not just about the artist. Like Candy has a lot of money. Candy's been escaped. Candy makes a lot of money because of the other things that she has done in the music business. Like if you remember in the first season she was on there, they went in that studio and saw all those gold and platinum records that were from other people because she wrote on there.
Correct.
And we have really come to this point where it's just about the person on the stage, but anybody who's a successful performer will tell you there are a lot of people behind the set that are making all of this happen. But we can't be ignorant professionals.
Yes, I was.
And when I used to do artist management full time, that's what I would tell my clients, like, why are you just trusting me?
That's so good. A lot of them are not going to do that, though, Robert.
Read this contract.
You're a rare form.
Sign this until you have read it. Because this is a legal document and you will be in jail. Or you will be broke, or these people making all this money off of you. But then the other side of that on my side is when you do that, then you can hold your artist accountable.
Yeah.
Like if Cleveland is one of my artists, and I'm like, well, look, we went through this whole 4-hour presentation on this performance. Like, why are you not ready to meet these requirements? There are writers. Writers are much more important than the contract. Because there were artists that wanted to come to Payne, and I had to say they can't come because some of the stuff in the writer did not align with the college's mission.
Got it.
But, this is what I really wish that we would teach, high school and college students who want to be artists. All the stuff that's happening behind it. Paying your taxes so you don't end up in jail. You are a contract worker. Pay your taxes.
I didn't go to jail, though.
That's all.
I got them done.
But those are the things that we need to teach. Of teaching business skills, life skills, to these people who want to be entrepreneurs and all. Like, there's more to. I own, I think, 6 companies. There's more to the 6 companies than just the companies. There's a lot of stuff that has to go on behind the scenes for this to work. Yeah. So I think you bring up a very valid point, Cleve. We got work to do.
We do.
Listen, and I hate the fact, and if I could be very blunt when I say this, so often we think that these kind of conversations have to be on these big platforms, right? Because unfortunately, people are going to listen to it unless a big time person said
it.
Exactly. We don't like. I'm gonna be, and I said I love y'all. I promise y'all, I love my watchers. I love y'all. My ones who watch this is beautiful. For my rewatchers, thank you so much. But when I tell you, we as a people have a hard time, when we make this stuff available. Sometimes we take it all. That's just talking or just extra. You not realize there's so much nuggets and stuff being dropped. People pay for this information. Like, I mean, for real. Like this advice, this conversation, people pay for this. And this could actually be a conference, but we are here at 8:13 or 8:15 on a Monday night talking to you, hot, sweating, and tired. But having great conversation. And we have to do a better job with sharing this information, right? We have to do a better job with, not just waiting for, as Cleveland said, the people, like for me, I can be very transparent and say, even for me, when I made the decision if I was going to do this or not, I've seen people and friends and colleagues or who are, they have a look, right? They have a TV look, or they have a, when they post things, we see this all the time. People post things and you can say the same exact thing. But if you half naked and got a nice body and you look kind of nice and you
lots of love buttons and thumbs ups,
you put the same thing up, and I just said the same thing. You got 2,000 likes.
You do
26.
It's true.
But it's the image, right? And so it's like we go based on, and it's not always about the message. And my fear in some of the music, and as we kind of bring it to a close, is that we are losing it's so much about the gimmick now. It's so much, and I don't knock the people who are bringing in. There's certain I won't say characters, Jesus. There's certain artists.
Characters.
Yeah, because some of our characters, but there are some artists that I do like. I like that they're able to find their individuality. I like that they're able to do what they're doing and still bring in. But I also love the message. That's why I think I love artists. I'm going back, but I love artists like her. Who made it very clear, she has this aesthetic. I loved artists like Martha Ambrosius, who just said, I'm just going to be. Now, she may sound like a moaning cat, but at the end of the day.
Did you just do that?
Yeah, I did. But but this thing, I love her, though. I love her.
But I think the key is you have to decide what success means for you. And success for you at the present time might be like Cleveland, like I'm getting consistent calls. Yeah. And I am working and I am paying my bills and I'm
grateful.
There are a lot of these main artists, these international stars that are very successful by people's standards that are miserable.
Mm-hmm. That's the word. That's
I mean, if you look at the drug overdose,
to sign with someone because of that reason. Because once you sign, and this is the thing, it's very clear. I mean, it's simple too. I am signing a contract to be with you, for you to have a part of me. A friend of mine would say this. In fact, I'm gonna go to a professor at Berkeley. One time I signed a contract, the first one I ever signed. It was a dumb idea. I got kind of coerced into something, and I'm not gonna get to it, the politics of it. But I was asked to go and sing at something. And I didn't know that once I got there that the professor wasn't going to be there. We were all supposed to meet there together. And I get there, and all of a sudden I'm being asked to sign a contract to record. I'm like, what is this for? I thought we were all supposed to come and jam, right? So when I went back and talked to that professor, I asked him, I said, why did this happen with some? He says, Cleveland, I need for you to see it this way. He says, everybody wants a piece of Cleveland. Didn't make me feel good at all. That was not a good feeling at all. And all that to say, I learned so much about just being cautious and also being the power of no, being okay. So here I am, figuring it out.
Well, last week I posted on my Facebook a post that said, every opportunity does not require you to say yes.
Correct. And also one more thing for people out there, and I was having a conversation with someone today and also yesterday about this. Everybody hates when you tell them no, but they never ever question your yes. Everybody wants you to say yes, and when you say yes, they go right for it. But as soon as you say no, well, why? And all this other stuff, stop having to answer to that. I had a problem saying no. So again, being very transparent. And the teacher that told me about everybody wants a piece of Cleveland, he says, your best bet, if you can't just say the word no, he says, learn, which I've learned better than I used to. He said, just say, just doesn't work for me, and stop there. Do not explain anything further. You are not obligated to explain all these things. If people think that you're obligated, I called you, you didn't answer. Well, there's a reason why you didn't. Follow your spirit in your gut. And if it's telling you not to, please don't do it. Follow that gut. Because I've made plenty of mistakes, and you're laughing at me, Robert, because you probably.
But I'm on the same accountability call with Mark Coley, and I said the other day that I am at a point now where I'm not saying yes because I'm desperate for work and for money. And I'm just not going to function in this space of desperation anymore.
Right.
And I think sometimes artists, especially those who consider themselves up and coming, the issue is they're so desperate for work and for exposure that they say yes to everything. But Angela Bassett, in that speech she gave, said, there have been times that my phone is not answered, but there has not been a single time that I have taken a job that's not aligned with who I am as a person.
Love that.
And that's what you have to think about.
That's
I
so
have
good.
struggled. during the pandemic, but my bills are paid.
Yeah.
And so, I could have said yes to a whole lot of things. It just, I don't want my name on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we have to get even our young people to understand, that being an entrepreneur, being your own boss is not as easy as you think. Because when you have a 9-to-5, even if you don't get your work done, your check's going to be there.
Yep.
When you are working like Cleveland or DeAndre and I, the issue is if you're not working or if you're not making moves, there is no income coming in.
None.
And everybody is not cut out to deal with that kind of lifestyle.
Oh.
And we need to stop shaming people
who
are happy with their 9-to-5s or who are not successful at the rate that we think is appropriate.
Thank you.
Now that's my soapbox, and I won't charge you guys. My rate is $150 per hour.
And that goes to that goes to the statement that we made the other day. I do these posts every day, and we were talking about the no's. And the statement I made was, no is a powerful tool when used correctly, and it could void your yes if not used enough.
Correct. Because of the fact that
some people, you don't want your yay when they say make your yays and your nays your nays, but you don't want to not say no enough that when you say yes and then when you finally do say no, people don't take you seriously.
Well, you discredit yourself when everyone assumes you're going to say yes to everything.
Absolutely.
People, especially Black people, they respect standards.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are starting to be like, well, Cleveland only does certain engagements, that holds a different level of weight with people than, Cleveland sings at everything. I just go see him at something else because he had everything.
Exactly.
And I'll go to the one next week that's only $3 and I'm not paying this $25 this point. So you have to have a standard. And I keep referencing Mark Coley because he has really shifted my mindset. If you don't know him, you look him up. But he said, charge what you are worth, and then the people will decide.
I like
it. We need to stop undervaluing ourselves and, thinking, they probably not going to pay that or whatever, because you're putting that out in the universe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to give you what you want. Nobody going to support you. But now if Cleveland puts up a ticket for $25 or $50, whatever, people, I don't think about it. I was like, well, let me just go buy this ticket.
Yeah. Because
we understand there's value in what he's providing.
Yep.
And in the words of R. Woodson, because I work for myself. So, but and it's very valid because of the fact that Wayne and I have both, unfortunately, had to turn down jobs or had to not accept because when people start realizing that you actually there are levels and there's credentials and there's certain areas and there's certain avenues that we go down. And Cleveland, you've been in this game 10 years. And I love the fact what people don't realize is Cleveland put a post up about maybe a couple months ago, but he put a post up when, he was talking about, you got to pay me, for my time. Like he doesn't just accept. And, he was like, I'm just, I apologize, but no, I have to. And so I never forget, I actually put in a comment. I said, so I don't got to pay for this.
I remember that. You sent me that message. That's how we connected. When you
that's what that reminds you. I got to pay you for this interview doing.
Come on.
and we need to stop apologizing for requiring people to pay us what we worth.
To do what is right.
They didn't want to pay my consulting rate. And they were trying to give themselves a discount. I said, you don't walk into Bloomingdale's and the shirt says $59.99. Then you go up to the register like, I'm going to pay $12.50.
Right.
You don't do that.
Right.
And I'm not going to do that. And I hate to say it, unfortunately, if we were not the race and demographic we are, and if we were another one, people wouldn't think about, our people especially, would not think about discounting things.
Mm-hmm.
But that is an unfortunate component that has somehow crept into our society. But no, I'm not, because I don't get to do less work because you pay less money. The standard is the same. Cleveland doesn't get to give you less of a performance because you want a discount. Especially now with
the comp
social
ticket,
media.
Or the comp ticket, as they would say. Because
my brother Elvis has a shirt company, and I bought this shirt. It says support Black businesses without asking for a discount.
Mm-hmm.
And I have gotten discounts from my vendors, and I am very appreciative, but I have never asked for one.
Mm-hmm.
They do it because they know the connection with what I'm doing will generate other business for them. But we have to get out this concept that everything needs to be discounted because you family or you friends or we didn't know each other. That's why you should be paying full price, because you have seen the journey for me to get here.
You see, you know what happened. You know how this works. Thank you, Robert, this is my church. Thank you for this church, Mr. PickEd. Thank you all for this church, this moment for me. I needed it.
But that's the reality. We set our value, and either other people are gonna ride along or they're gonna discredit it. But you know, I have a shirt that says "I am my brand." Everything about R. Wayne Woodson's brand aligns with what I expect. My team does it, everybody, because my brand can't be tarnished, and I'm not gonna discount it because you want 50 cents off.
Yeah.
But that's my, y'all got me on my soapbox today.
I like your soapbox.
And with that, don't allow that moment to creep in, because the moment you allow that moment of you allow that small, you know how they say something they'll take an inch, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. You got to be very careful about how much you give, because
I need all of this.
If you give too much, you know, people were like, oh, well, if I gave him this, then I'll take him. I can take him here, and I can no. And that becomes I had to learn that the hard way. You know, as Wayne was saying, listen, you are your brand. You are worth every bit.
Thank you.
Every bit of that. You know, and I had to be reminded that, you know, everything that you've done, you have a resume, you know, so much so that I surely tell people Google me at this point.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very clear at this point. I can do that.
Yeah.
I have the ability of the credentials to do that now. Like, listen, you can Google me. I would even also send you I go to my website. I have, you know, documentation that says, and once you get to that place, you realize I will accept nothing less than this. You know, I will accept nothing less than my best. And since my best is my tomorrow, it clearly, you know, that I can't accept nothing less, because I don't know what my best looks like yet, because I haven't made it to tomorrow yet.
And then it creates other problems, because then that person will be like, well, you know, Cleveland gave me a discount. He only charged me this. And then you having that conversation with someone else. I just don't do any of that. You know, I have a really good friend who wanted me to do some work, and I was like, it's $150 an hour. I haven't heard back from him. That's fine. There are many other people out there who do what I do, but I know my level and what you get for what you pay me.
Exactly.
And, you know, that is the part of the process that we set for ourselves. And when it blows up and it's not what it should be, that's our fault too. And let me just be clear about that. Now, I have not made all these perfect decisions, but I have to own the screw ups I did too. That's how I've gotten to where I am. I always say I learn more from my failures than my successes.
Same.
You know, I have multiple businesses before these. Now, these are doing well. But we can go back to the state records and pull some of those other businesses that I had that are no longer in existence. But I'm not ashamed of that, because that is also part of the process you're paying for. You're paying for all the knowledge I got from those experiences.
Yes, Robert.
You know, Cleveland didn't get to pay less for his Berkeley degree because people are going to get discounts in the future.
Still paying for that degree, but we should know. Yeah, thanks.
and I think that takes it back.
Scholarship.
Oh Lord Jesus. And that takes it back. You know, people have to hear that, right? People have to hear, you know, because people assume that people measure, you know, failure. You know, they immediately go to failure. I always tell people quitting gives me less satisfaction than failing. Yeah. You know, because at the end of the day, when we talk about running that race, if I quit right here, when I come back next year, I'm only going to remember, I'll remember this part of the race, but I don't know what the rest of the race looked like because I quit right here. You know, at least if I failed, if I came in last, at least I know what the race looks like, right? And I appreciate the fact that Wayne said that, like, listen, all I went through beforehand only gave me not only the courage, but it gave me the information I needed to make these successful. That's the only way I'm able to make these successful right now, because I know what I did. I know what I did wrong. Like, listen, I did that wrong.
Yeah.
That's with relationships. That's with
Growth.
friendships. That's with these businesses. That's with the like. You have to be able to own that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that we're here tonight. And if I can also be very honest and say, these are Black men saying this, people.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, listen.
We own it.
Own it. We're owning it. And like, listen, we're telling people, living your truth, own that. Own it. Listen, I have not made the best decision. I've made the right decisions. I've been burned along the way. I've burned people along the way. I've had all of that. But the great thing about it is everything that I've done has still been, as Cleveland and I talked about earlier before we came on, everything happens for reason and timing. Absolutely. Everything is purposeful. And for what y'all do not know is Cleveland was supposed to be on this show almost 3 months ago.
Yes.
Literally 3 months ago.
We're glad to be here.
Everything just kept falling. It just, my health and then this and that. But there's something that I may say, if I can say this, and we'll draw it here, because I'm actually surprised that so many of you also, first of all, thank you all have been staying on, because we're
Greetings, everybody. Glad you're here.
We'll be done at 8:00, but thank y'all for staying on.
This is what happens when you have two real good guests on. The people will stay.
And you keep
so
talking, right?
You might want to have us back every month. Like they do Porgy and Best when opera companies are failing. They bring the Porgy and Best to raise revenue. So you might want to bring Cleveland and our way back.
Virtual benefit concept.
As I'm sweating now. You make me sweat, dude.
Yeah, but there's something to be said that every time I would text and message Cleveland, and I'd be like, "Hey, I promise you, we're coming. I'm doing." He was like, "Okay, just let me know when. Just let me know when."
Always
there. I got it. I'm here, and I would still be like, "He's really keeps saying," and that's what makes me.
All you have to do is show up.
That makes for me the best. I think that is what I believe is going to be his thing. Is going to, because when people see that, people get so big and they get so, and I understand that, yes, there are spaces. Once you get your place, you have to, look at this and do that and everything else, but it doesn't hurt. It does nothing when you are still able to just be, because remember those lasting moments. And the fact that, again, the fact I can call these individuals, no one has to say yes. Mm-hmm. No one has to.
But can I say this before I'm sorry to break you. I just want to say this one last thing. Everybody doesn't get that privilege that you got, though.
Nor should they. Nor should they.
Everybody doesn't have your tenacity. Everybody doesn't have your spirit. Some people have other motives and they want something from them. They're always trying to take. You're literally putting us on a platform you don't even have to. You're giving us something too. So thank you. So I'm saying, so a lot of people have other motives. And if I sense that, and that's what I want people who are looking at this to know about me, I'm a loving human being, but I will not, if my energy says no to you, I'm following my energy. I believe in that.
And I think
so,
what DeAndre,
so it was easy for you.
With what DeAndre said, if Oprah, with all her money and influence, can still bring people into her kitchen when she's cooking with no makeup on in her pajamas. Mm-hmm. And if she can see a student at an HBCU whose phone is broken and send them a new phone, she don't have to do that. Nope. If those type of people can be that accessible and human, then none of the rest of us have any excuse.
Which, by the way, if anybody wants to send this show to Oprah, by all means, I will take her on, but send it to Oprah. But the beautiful thing, I also
you can have all three of us on. Hello,
yes, you can.
We will clear our schedules.
But the beautiful thing, I've also, if you all go back and watch, those of you follow, we did the anniversary show last week. If you been following us, truly the blessing of it. Yes, I will bring them back. Yes, I will make sure that I bring them back.
Thank you, Miss Glenn. Thank you very much.
But the beautiful part about this all is it's been the guests that have come on, I've never had a no. And I've had amazing people like Cleveland and R. Wayne, and I've had actors and I've had amazing people on here, and every person I've asked, and I had to go back, and this was actually that person at the bottom of the screen who said this to me, because I was like, why are these people, I'm not big name. I'm public figure, I guess, in my right, but I'm not a big name. I'm not this. Why am I getting why is my show, why is my broadcast doing things differently than people I've seen and been on, that's been on for, you know, a couple of years, and it took them to like their third season to get a quote unquote name. And my first season, my second episode, I had Star from Greenleaf, you know, all because hey, what about this? And I had to get that in me. You know, it was Wayne who simply said, listen, one, this is greater than you.
Hey,
one, this is greater than you. Secondly, you paid your dues. Third, you have to understand that you spoke, you have a thing that many people don't have, and that's a relationship.
Yep.
And when you had that conversation with God, you were very intentional. And I think and that has to be your thing. And if I can encourage any person watching tonight, whether you're young, whether you're older, you have to have a relationship, and you have to speak a thing. Right. You can't just be out here just, don't just write it down. Write it down. That's cute. That's beautiful. That's great. But outside of that, you have to do some work with that. You have to start speaking a thing. You have to start sowing into it. You have to start putting things. You have to start, don't allow those people, don't start allowing, just listen to every voice, because what happens is you'll start listening to certain voices and they'll immediately start telling you, don't do this. Well, what about this? What, if you may not do, no. Be careful about those. Listen. You'll know when it's right. You'll know in that time. Cleveland literally said, "All right, this it, Mama. I'm doing it." You'll know, and so walk. Don't just walk out there willy-nilly, but still have that relationship, and you'll know. And that is what I will say to you. So before I close it on out, because ironically enough, I have a 9 o'clock show.
Wow.
We're just talking, and I'm like, wait, I actually have a 9 o'clock show.
Well, they'll be there.
I love you, Robert. I miss to love you, Robert.
But before
this is the Robert that I know.
God's plan is that we live our best lives.
Yes.
That is, He would not have created us if His intention was for us to be miserable and suffer and awful. 90% of the time, the issues we're going through, we created for ourselves. And so if we can get out of our own way sometimes, God has already ordained the greatness in your life. Now, the challenge often is that we as humans cannot receive that and are not in a place to receive that. And that mental challenge hinders our forward motion. Free will is a wonderful thing, but it can also get in the way.
Yes. Ooh.
Now, at the end of the day, you're going to get back on the path. Now, is it going to take you 10 years? Is it going to take you 37? But God's plan is always that we live our most successful and abundant lives. Now, that's my 2 cents. I will send you my ministry bill with all of my leadership credentials from the church after I get off.
And here I am, mind you, here I am 2 weeks left before break. And so now I'm gonna have people come out. So you can't go on break yet, because
you can have a special edition, like they do on Primetime Live.
Well, you do know, again, there's some stuff coming down the pipeline on Instagram, and so maybe we'll definitely do that. But listen, I want to get out of here. Listen, I can do this all night with these brothers. Listen, they are absolutely amazing. I actually need to do one more.
We're reflections of you too. I just want to say that we're reflections of who you are. So thank you.
I got
like Cleveland said, everybody doesn't get this level of access.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not
it's a no for everybody doesn't get this. Yes.
Or you'll pull the what you call the Simon Cowell. It's a no for me.
It's a no for me.
It's I will have to talk to my people and see if my schedule's open.
I'll talk to my team. My team will get back to you. I gotta talk to my team. We're good at that. I gotta talk to my team. My Jesus. But and if I could give the floor to each of you to kind of leave one last mark. When it doesn't necessarily have to be about just because we've definitely expanded beyond music. at this point. We have definitely gone to life.
Yeah.
And I think, but we talk about, life in essence. I use whenever I do trainings and developments, whenever I do trainings for students or in general, I always open up my icebreaker with I do kind of a rhythm test. Mm-hmm. And the way I do it is I break them up in 3 different groups, and I give each section a different rhythm. But I start one section off with a very simple rhythm, and then I build off that rhythm, and I try to see if in essence, if they can still keep their same rhythm, or if they're gonna try to go to the easier one, or are they trying to look and see if the other person does. So it's always all a part of that. And 9 times out of 10, people don't always get it right. They try to go to the easier one, and I always do that because of the fact that I try to remind people that everybody moves to a different rhythm, and it's not our responsibility to try to either make people come to our rhythm, or try to or chastise people because they're not moving in the same beat or the same rhythm that you are. Some people need that easier, or some people need to gradually go along. And that is what I believe in this time. We have to be very careful about how we, as Wayne said much earlier today in the conversation, you can't judge people for where they are. This is where they are. And that is, I believe, was my biggest takeaway from this. But if I could, and I'll start with you, Cleveland, give you the floor. What's one final thing, one final nugget you would give to anybody watching, whether young or seasoned? I won't call you old, but seasoned. That would be one takeaway that you want to give to them.
You know what? I'm just going to be real basic and say, and literally the one word is love. Like, that's a big, big, big thing for me. Loving yourself in its fullness. I mean, I'm talking about looking in the mirror, every nick and cranny that doesn't work for you, that you think doesn't work, that is beautifully made. Literally being able to accept what God really did create, which was not a mistake, and is a very beautiful, perfect thing in its own right. And being able to accept all of it and doing everything you need to do. And of course, doing it scared. Do it anyway. Let them talk. Let them be, but you got to keep pressing forward. And that's it's simply basic. You've heard this a million times, but it's real. You have to really apply these things and make them work for yourself in your favor. And you're going to have to also stop listening to things that you know that don't work for you and the people, even if it's family. If you have to release them for the sake of your own movement, move and release them. Love still, but still move, because you have things to do. Waiting on other people is not going to get you where you need to get to. Go move. Just move. Move. That's it.
Yeah, and I think, Wayne, we got to make sure we start selling those shirts.
Yes, because I'm buying whatever you got, Robert.
I'll send you the link.
Please.
And final word to you, senior prelate apostle.
Bishop.
I would just say, to live your life unapologetically and without limits placed on you by yourself and limits placed on you by other people. When God gives a visionary a vision, the only person who sees the vision is the visionary. So you're going to waste your time trying to get people to understand what you're doing if you spend all your time trying to get people to understand what you're doing. Then you don't have any time to actually do it. Good. So, that's what I would just say. If God has spoken to you, do what he says and let the people go to him for clarity.
Yeah.
Don't feel obligated to provide clarity on your vision to other people.
Thank you. I needed that too.
Whew. Listen, to finish it off, I always tell our viewers and I always tell people often, stop telling your dreams to people who don't sleep. People who don't sleep don't dream. So all they're trying to do is kill yours. And so we have to be, just keep dreaming. The dreams is where it happens.
Yeah.
I love, I hate to use a Hamilton quote, but he said, in the room where it happens, this is that room.
Yep.
Keep dreaming.
Yes.
Keep believing.
Yes.
That's where, because God dwells where you believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, just keep dreaming. And I promise you, it may not happen tomorrow. Wayne said it may happen. It may take 10. It may happen tomorrow, But at the end of the day,
Goodness.
you have to keep dreaming. You have to keep believing, and or be a cleaver. Be a believer.
Be a believer.
That's an example, right? Oh, there it is. That's an
I
example.
gotta get my shirt made, Robert. The Be Cleaver.
Okay,
shirt.
we can do it through my company.
Okay, there we go.
See, I'm just making things happen. This is what
You
happens.
better be facilitating.
Listen, this is what happens.
And I'm serious about that.
Now we got business going. Listen.
Sure do.
And I appreciate that. And so I'll be expecting y'all both to be sponsors very soon on the show. God bless your life. So with that being said, tell them how they can find you, Cleveland.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. Everything is under Cleveland P. Jones. Also, I have if you want to just go to my website, it's artistecard.com, like the word artist, E as in E card.com/Cleveland P. Jones, and just see everything that I'm about. And you can send me a private message and we can communicate and go from there. Yeah.
And R. Wayne Woodson.
My website, rwaynewoodson.com, links to everything. And on all social media, it's at Dr. Woodson 2020. Yeah, there won't be any discounts on it.
Thank you, Mr. Duckett. I appreciate that.
If
You make my heart happy.
And I actually have to. And first of all, thank you, Duckett, because for coming on. Because I have begged you to come watch for for a long time, but I appreciate.
This is a perfect time to do it.
So it goes back to he needs to have us on here again. You see, the Lord is sending the people because
the Lord is sending the people because there's some people I've seen. I'm like, oh, okay. God bless you. How you doing? How you doing? But yes, thank you all again so much. And of course, as always, you can find us on all of our social media outlets. No matter where you're watching, you can also go. We are taking a break in 2 weeks, so we have 2 shows left. So you want to make sure that you follow. Now I have to get off here because at 9:00 you can find me with the 5 Guys on Live right here again on Facebook and on my Facebook, as well as the 5 Guys Live Facebook page. We have some amazing discussion and conversation tonight. I'm sure you will enjoy it. We have some, again, we're talking politics and social justice, as well as pop culture tonight. Gentlemen, thank you all. Oh, where am I talking? Right here. I'm talking like.
Yeah, I was about to say you did your whole closing to the wrong camera.
Right.
If you didn't have a whole studio in your office, that wouldn't happen. I have one camera on.
because that camera is dead. That's why I'm here.
But the message is still relevant.
Yeah.
But I was like,
let me tell you something. What I'm going to do while I'm on break. What I'm going to do while I'm on break is I'm going to pull together the top 10 craziest moments from half my season and pull some bloopers together, because I was surely talking to a whole camera and I said, wait a minute, I'm talking to the wrong camera. Great. So again, all that I just said, take that. Okay, bless that. Take that. All that you just heard, yeah, just that. Again, thank you for watching. I love you all. Again, please join us again next Monday, where we will have Lawrence Johnson, who is a 2-time Olympian. Because we will not be here for the Olympics when they come in next month, and so he was a silver medalist in the 2000 Olympics. He will talk about what it means to be a Black Olympian, what it means to just for the training and the development, and what he's doing in the community to train other Olympians. We'll talk about our amazing, beautiful Black queen who is now holding the record for the most wins in a U.S. championship. She's the most medaled Black gymnast that there is. And so we also will discuss the very first Black gymnast team representing us in the Olympics. We've never had that before.
Amazing.
Well, so we'll discuss that and many, many more. Listen, I love you all. I appreciate the work that you all are doing. I appreciate the work that you continuously push. Thank you. I love you. This is PickEd Speaks, where Black excellence speaks for herself. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer.